But what there is pre-season suspensions are costly.
Yes, they are.
And in the right circumstances, they are contentious. And that was certainly the case with Brayden Maynard, who received a 2-match suspension for rough conduct. Collingwood went to the tribunal tonight. Tom Morris, our chief footy reporter, sat through the hearing. Tom, how did it unfold? Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Gerard. Thanks for having me. Well, this was the first hearing where Jeff Gleeson was the tribunal chair and the member of the jury. Significant influence, and it's no surprise that it played out the way it did with Brayden Maynard receiving that 2-week suspension or being upheld from the MRO. So Maynard's lawyer, Shannon Collins, argued his striking action was not careless. He said Maynard tried to avoid contact with the head, and once he made contact, tried to get out of the situation to minimise it. He also said the spoil was a legitimate football action and that the contact was not reasonably foreseeable. So it's no surprise that the AFL in response argued that the action was reasonably foreseeable and that he did not take reasonable actions to avoid it. Ultimately, the league said that Maynard did not take reasonable care, and that's why after 40 minutes the verdict came back as it did. Jeff Gleeson said in approaching and affecting the contest, it could be reasonably foreseen that Maynard would make contact with Lloyd's head. So this is clearly a blow for Collingwood. It puts a flag in the ground ahead of the 2022 season, and it means Maynard won't be playing against St Kilda in round 1 or Gerard Adelaide in round 2.
Yeah, it's hugely costly, Tom. Thank you. How have you seen this unfold over the past couple of days?
Oh, I've been really curious about the commentary on it, and the beauty of footy is that everyone's got different opinions, and that's really great for the game. But I can't believe that some people. I've got different opinions to Nathan Buckley and Kane Corns, and I spoke to David Schwartz tonight about this. They've got red flags on this. When you run in, Gerard, when you run in and you institute a round arm action, not a forward one, because he was running late, at the last moment, and you institute that, at some stage you lose control of where that lands up. And you can't say that can happen with every punch. No, not really. You go straight long, it's just going straight. You go like that, you are opening up that person to a very, very vulnerable situation. So when it clipped the ball, I don't care, left the ball, hit him in the head, dazed him, and then he was knocked out. He was knocked out because he was hitting the head. Who cares if it happened majorly when he hit the ground? So when Bucks, who I've really enjoyed coming into the media in these week and a half, he's been here, and Kane's a leading voice in football, and Ox knows his football really, really strongly. I feel that the AFL, Gerard, has got a battle still on its hands to convince people, no, we've got to change the way people think about the game. Do you accept or understand?
It's the very definition of careless, and in the moment that it happened, if you have followed the evolution of things over the past couple of years, you knew that it was going to be a suspension.
Straight away.
So a player doesn't have the right to contest the ball without any limits and without any obligations. It's almost like, no, he's contesting the ball, so that's OK. No, there are limits on the way that you're allowed to contest the ball. And what you can't do is leave your opponent concussed as a result of your actions. So you have to modify the way that you contest the ball to show a duty of care to the player who's there. Now, Lloyd is... I agree with you. It's the plane of the arm. And Maynard's in the wrong spot. Is that much Nathan Buckley concedes? He should have been more aggressive and been at the contest rather than approaching it in such a way. And he has no regard for Lloyd when he swings the arm.
Zero.
So the AFL described it as inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable that he was going to hit him in the head in the way that he contested the ball. So it's not you can contest the ball without limits.
No.
Actually, sport is not that in any regard. And the code has moved further and further away from that.
I like the fact that we've done this, and unfortunately for Brayden Maynard, and I really respect him as a player. He's the kind of player you want on your team. He gives his all. I really, really like him as a player. But our game is changing, and Dermot Breton was commentating for Fox Footy, and I've called him in the paper tomorrow. Dermot was the Sergeant-at-Arms at Hawthorn for a decade. OK?
And he can find an excuse for almost anything. Bless him. Bless him.
He thought Chopper was rated PG, Derm. When he described it as crude, I thought to myself, well done. A person like Derm is realising those acts just can't happen in footy anymore. And, you know, so we've got this in lights early. Does it set a precedent? I don't care if it sets a precedent. I hope it teaches players to be less careless and less reckless with their opponents.
Yeah, and you have to set a level for concussion. So high impact is the only acceptable level. Concussion isn't medium.
No, of course
concussion
not.
isn't low. So if you leave a player concussed with an illegal action, that has to be graded as high, and that evolved last year. It's been reinforced and it needs to hold right through the year. It's not medium if you leave the player concussed.
No,
the only reason he hit his head on the ground was because Maynard whacked him.
Because he whacked him and it was an illegal. Last thing before we go on, I think we've got to flip the commentary on this. Instead of saying, oh, Maynard, what else could he do?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Lloyd, who was going for a mark and then he wakes up in the rooms. Where are we supposed to have the responsibility in the game? We like Maynard, but come on, we've got to start protecting the people who get knocked out on the field. We just have to. And the AFL are trying to do that.
Yep, and they have done tonight.